We were discussing the straw poll about how the procedure about changing the board of directors, number of directors, basically. And Ben, do you want to do the straw poll now or at the end of this kind of motion?
I think we should consider I think we should do it after this.
Okay, perfect. So next was VP Emo.
Yeah.
We're fine to you.
Hello. Yeah, so I disagree with the interpretation that this is coming completely out of left field, because I do remember there was a number of discussions around the desire for such documents. However, it definitely was not formally asked for. So I'll say from my perspective, I'm not really sure how feasible these things are with the current sort of timelines. Even though the mover has expressed that they want the timelines to be more flexible, I prefer there to be asks that I know I can specifically meet, as opposed to feeling pressure to pull things together when a lot of deadlines are coming up, specifically in my portfolio, that cannot be moved around. I'll say that it was my intention as VP Education to work with EAC throughout the spring semester to sort of figure out what the model for advocacy in specific would look like in the new model, and what were sort of values and goals that we had. So I've already started having those conversations with EAC, and I continue to keep having those conversations as we go on. I was also planning to create a memo basically detailing my thoughts about advocacy and some like best committee structures that would support that. Admittedly, I wanted to get those documents prepared and done before the bylaws passed. However, it became evident to me partway through the semester that that probably wasn't going to happen. So like when we were discussing extending the governing year, that was part of what I was asking for additional time for. I don't think I can. I'm talking, Mom. Sorry. Sorry, I like in specific procedures, I know that I can't pull it together in that time. So I'm not really sure what I'm asking of council here in particular. Other than that, like I'd be happy to pull together these documents like for you, but it would probably be after the timelines are currently set for the bylaws to pass. I don't think like I think that these are components that can be resolved after the bylaws are sort of passed. And I like understand the concern that, you want assurance that advocacy and society relations will work underneath the new model. I guess I'm just saying from my perspective, I've given a lot of thought to it. And I think that there are many different directions we can go, but that like advocacy can work underneath the new model. And if that's still sort of a concern, I can try to pull together like a memo like fairly quickly with my thoughts on that. But I would prefer having the spring semester to really pull that together for folks. Thank you.
Thank you, VP Emo. I guess, is there anyone else in the speaking turn? I don't think so.
I'm not sure if Ben still wants to take a speaking turn, and I indicated one afterward.
Oh, I thought you gave that turn to Ben, but you can go now.
Oh, no, I gave it to Ben. I don't know if Ben wants to go.
Ben?
Are
you frozen for us?
No, I'll just say like I'm ready to take this to a vote.
Okay, Councilor Mackie, go ahead.
If it would make everyone happy, I'd happy to like make it say request the following documents / changes by end of spring. I think that will solve the timeline issues. But just make it clear that this is something that council is like directing to be. These documents are something council wants, but just make it explicit that flexible with the timeline.
We will come back to that proposal, Vincent, right after Catherine has her speaking turn, which apparently I missed.
No worries. Thanks, Cannon. Okay, I don't really care to see these voted down. I think that items 3 and 4 on the list do warrant discussion and an indication of preferred spirit from council, and Ben has suggested ways through which we can obtain that. We've heard Ben and Steph speak to items 1 and 2. I hope that council feels quite assured that we will be receiving, or you will, I digress, that council will be receiving sufficient documentation and presentation and opportunity for discussion on both of those areas amongst other areas. And I would strongly suggest that Councillor Macri withdraw this motion, because I don't want to see this voted down if that's what council wants, because I do think that these are important things to be looking at. And I suppose I'd also just like to highlight the immense good faith with which President Easton seconded this motion to bring it to the floor, despite the fact that he does not necessarily agree with the intentions behind it. I don't think that this motion is necessary whatsoever, and in the event that Councillor Macri does not decide to withdraw it, I strongly recommend that councillors vote it down, not because council does not want to see these documents, which will come to council, but simply because the way in which this motion was brought about and the intention behind it is not the way I think that we ought to be going about this.
Thank you. VP Dong. Is there anyone else that would like to speak on this motion?
I guess it was me now.
Go ahead, Councillor Macri.
Yeah, so like I said, if the main concern is just the timeline, I'd be happy to change it to, request the following documents / changes by the end of spring, just so that we don't have that issue with the timeline.
Anyone would like to second this amendment?
Like, I would hope that would be friendly.
VP Emo seconds. I will ask President Easton if this is friendly. If not, we will vote on this amendment.
I know we've split the question, so I don't know if that complicates things.
It technically, no, it's still an amendment to the amendment. So we're still in a good, like the only area we can be kind of. What do people want? Do we want to vote on giving spring term as a deadline? I guess if no one says anything, we will have to vote because there is a motion and there's a seconder.
Can't we just take it as friendly, or?
It was President Easton who was the seconder for the original motion.
Sure. For expediency, yeah, it's friendly.
Okay. Unless someone in the entire party has any issue with this, we will move on to the motion as amended now, which is we're going to be discussing these 4 motions that have been put forward by Councillor Macri, one by one. President Easton, you have a 1. Go ahead.
Thanks, Cannon. Yeah, I'm just gonna say again, my advice is that council vote against these 4 motions. As I've already said, like not because they're like poor quality motions or that they're like asking for irrelevant things. Quite the contrary. Just I don't think it's necessary to have a motion that is like sort of prescriptive in nature, even if the timeline is till the end of spring. I expect we would be able to report on some of the stuff before then, but I disagree with the sort of the prescriptive nature of the motion.
Thank you, President Easton. Councilor Macri, go ahead with the direct response.
Yeah, I'm not sure why this is being painted as out of the blue. I've been asking for this information for months now. Given that I've been asking for it for months, it would have been totally feasible for these documents to have been produced by now, but they haven't, which is why I want to specifically have council request these documents, because it has been months since I requested this information. It still is not produced, and I want assurances that this will be done. Like, I understand the executives are saying they're working on it, but like, that's not like a binding promise. By having council pass this motion, we can be assured that this will be done.
Thank you, Councilor Macri. VP Emo, you have one. Go ahead.
I'll say that specifically for the request that like impacts me. One, like I don't mind people voting in support of it. I've been trying to pull together the documents, and just with the immensity of the VP education portfolio, I've unfortunately not been able to pull it together in quite the timely manner that I think people were hopeful for. And I hope that I've been transparent and sort of clear about just the unfeasibility of the sort of initial timeline with things. But I can sympathize with wanting assurance that it is done. I don't think that's necessarily an insult on me or whatnot. It makes sense for council to want something and want that in writing. So if that is one of your concerns, I would heavily invite you to vote in favor of item 1. I can't really speak to the other ones, but like I'm happy to do the first one. And personally, you know, I really don't think that, at least what's being asked of me, that was out of the blue. I think it was discussed several times, and I'm sorry that I haven't gotten in a more timely manner. But hopefully you're willing to work with me so that, you know, I have time to get this done and that council gets it.
Thank you. I would remind people who are typing in the chat, if you have something to say, please say it aloud. Chats are not part of the official record, and they're only supposed to be used for 1s, 2s, and points of blanks. VP Dong, go ahead.
Yeah, I guess that the one thing that I'd want to clarify is that I'm aware that these items are not out of the blue. They've been part of the much longer conversation that we've had, and that's not what I was getting at. It's more so within this meeting itself, instead of bringing it up as a discussion or posing questions to the executive, it came directly as an amendment to an existing motion. The motion, which the motioner of this amendment was a part of writing at the beginning of the meeting. And so this immediately bringing it to the floor as something to vote on was something that caught me off guard. And I, for one, can't really say that I appreciated, even though I do believe that these are all important things to be discussing and to be considering for everybody.
Thank you, VP Dong. VP Schwartz, go ahead.
I'm so sorry for speaking. I was planning on just sort of like trying to let this just proceed in a timely manner, but I figured I just had to like give opinion as like other exec. Again, I don't have an issue with any of these items passing. Aside from item 3, I think that's just sort of a different kind of question regarding how the model or how the system works in the new model. And I think that the answer to question 3, number 1, should be, you know, we don't do that. I think that the president should be chairing. But I would encourage you to vote no to 3, and I don't really. The other ones are fine to pass by me.
Thank you, VP Schwartz. Is there anyone else who would like to speak on this item before we start voting on a bunch of motions one by one? Nope. Okay, we will take each motion one by one. God, this is gonna be confusing. So right now the first motion we are voting on is a supplementary document approved by the BPAD detailing how advocacy will work in the new model and a procedure for a strong advocacy committee approved by EOC should be provided by executives by end of spring term. Anyone who is in favor of this motion, please raise your hand. I'll give everyone 1 or 2 more seconds.
I just want to let you guys know that I can't raise my hand while sharing a screen.
How do you vote, Connor, on this?
I'm going to vote in abstention.
Okay. Okay, we have 9 in favor. And I'm going to lower everyone's hand. Anyone against the motion, please raise your hand. We have 3 against. I'll give everyone 1 or 2 more seconds. Okay, I'm going to lower everyone's hand. I have to lower my hand separately. Also, no one type anything in the chat right now because we are voting and we're not allowed to talk when we're voting. And everyone who's voting against, please raise your hand. Sorry, abstaining, not against. Abstaining. Catherine and Ben, can you lower your hands? One abstain, which is Oscar, and another abstain is Connor. Are there only 15 people in this call? People, please vote. Okay, the motion passes. Next, we are voting on the second motion. Well, actually, VP Dong noted against. Andy, you're supposed to raise hands. Just tell me your vote. Just say it aloud or type it in the chat so we have it in the record. Susan, you can just message your vote to me personally on or in our Math Caucus group chat. Okay, people, I need to please pay attention when we're voting on things so everyone knows what's happening. The motion on the floor that was on the floor and has now passed was be it resolved, council request a supplementary document approved by the BPAD detailing how advocacy will work in the new model and a procedure for a strong advocacy committee approved by ESC by end of spring term. Andy, go ahead. Are you in favor, against, or abstaining? In favor. Okay, thank you. So we had 10 in favor, 3 against, 2 abstaining. And Mike, go ahead.
Cannon, just to help out with people. Connor, can you like scroll up to the text that we're looking at each time, just so people, yeah, or paste it in from the chat where Vincent has put it in the Teams call.
Yeah.
That would...
We will wait for Connor to post it. Okay, perfect. It's there. So we have approved the first ask. Now we are gonna be approving the second ask, which is be it resolved, council requests the following document changes by end of spring term. A supplementary document approved by the president detailing how society relations will be maintained in the new model, and a procedure for COPS replacement, potentially, but not necessarily composed of only society presidents. For example, composed of some members of society executives based on the size of society, also approved by COPS. We will again start with voting in favor, then abstaining, then against. Whoever's in favor, please raise your hand. If you cannot raise your hand, type it in the chat. If you can't type it in the chat, message me on Messenger if you have me on Messenger. Okay. I'll give 2 more seconds. Okay. 6, and there is 8 in favor. Let's go. Everyone lower your hands, please. Okay. 9 in favor for this again, and now we will go to abstentions. Anyone abstaining? Thank you, Mary. Okay, 10 in favor. Anyone abstaining? We will move on to abstaining now.
Cannon, you've said abstain twice. Did you mean?
No, because no one voted for abstaining, and Mary said something in the chat while we were voting. So I just want to make sure people are not getting confused
You haven't
right
given
now.
us a chance to vote in opposition.
Yes, and that will happen after the abstention. Seems like no one is abstaining. We will move on to against our opposition. Please raise your hands. Okay. I will give everyone another 3 seconds. Going once. Going twice. 10 in favor, 5 against, and no one abstained, but we still didn't reach the number of people who are on this call. So make what you can make of that. The motion passes. Next is the president should not preside over the board meeting. Instead, a governance expert should be the chair. We are voting on this now. Anyone in favor of this, please raise your hand. Going once, going twice. Okay, there's 1 person in favor. That's it. Anyone against this motion, please raise your hand. So this is against. We have 7 plus Connor plus another person. So 9 people voting against. 10. Okay, I'll give everyone another 3 seconds. Going once, going twice. So we have 11 against this. And now we'll go on. Well, you know what? I'm not going to even go on abstention because it doesn't matter. The motion passes. Motion failed. Sorry, with 11 against, 1 in favor. A procedure for how board may change over time. I think, Ben, this was where you want to do a straw poll before, or do you want to do it after the motion passes or fails?
I think by the rules of order, we should vote on it.
Okay. So we're voting on the last motion, which is a procedure for how the board should may change over time. Basically, council is asking documents about what the executive's plan is for that. We will be, okay, people, please lower your hands. Okay, everyone has lowered their hands, perfect. I don't know what happened, but okay, so anyone in favor of asking for a procedure about how the size of board may change over time, please raise your hand. Three more seconds, going once, going twice. Okay, 3 in favor, that's it. Now, people, I'll just lower everyone's hands. Anyone? Okay, 4 in favor with Connor also in favor. Thank you, Connor. Anyone against this motion, please raise your hand. 2 against, 4 against, or not, 4 against, yes. Okay, now we will move on to abstentions. But before that, I'm going to lower everyone's hand first. Okay. Anyone abstaining, please raise your hands. So we had 3 in favor, 4 against, and 4 abstaining. That means there were a total of less than 15 people present who are actually actively voting, which is sad, people. Okay, the motion fails. Ben, is this now where you want to do your straw poll?
There's
Or
a
do
point
you
of
not?
order from Jay.
Jay, go ahead.
We have 4 in favor and
You had 3 in favor, 4 against, and the rest were abstaining.
I saw like Sonia and Andy voted in the chat. I'm not sure this is in favor. Is this to this motion or to previous motion?
Sonia, what was this in favor of? Sonia? I'm gonna assume that was for something else, unless they respond to me. Andy, were you in favor? Okay, so there were 4 favor, 4 against, and rest were abstaining. The motion still fails. Is that okay with everyone? Go ahead, Councillor Macri.
Didn't you vote against and chair is not supposed to vote unless there's a tie?
Not actually according to Robert's rules. That was told to me by you in a previous meeting. Go ahead, Jay.
I don't remember that, but okay.
Is Annie's yeah means in favor of this motion? And
Okay, you know what, people? Let's just vote again on this motion, and I will not take any votes after I say the voting for that particular favor, abstention, or against first, because it becomes unnecessarily complicated at that point. I will give till 12:35. Everyone who wants to vote in favor of this motion, please vote in favor by raising your hands or typing in the chat. 1, 2.
I also had a point of inquiry.
Go ahead, Connor.
Would it be possible to?
Connor, actually, sorry, I don't think we can do point of inquiries while we're voting.
It was before the vote.
Let's wait till the favor vote is done, and then I'll go to your point of inquiry then.
Okay.
Is that okay?
It may influence the way people are, like, if people vote or not.
Ben, any suggestions?
I mean, it looks like the motion's going to carry it, that's right.
There's 5 in there, and 1, 2, 3. There's 8 in favor right now, so it might not. Connor, go ahead with your point of inquiry.
Can we make it noted that whoever does not vote in these 4 motions can be written as like no vote on the agenda minutes, because I feel like it's unacceptable for councilors just to not vote at this point, and the lack of participation. I just want everybody to know that if people are not being active in the meeting and they're not expressing their vote, it's kind of, I want students to know.
Sure, Mike, is that something you can do?
I have not been recording that discrete of details, so like it is not something I can actually do. Like we don't have that retrospection to go back.
Okay, never mind then.
Sorry.
So we have 8 in favor of this. And everyone lower your hand. Okay. Now anyone voting against this motion? I will give everyone another 10 seconds. Going once, going twice. The motion passes with 8 in favor, 6 against, and I'm just going to assume everyone else abstained. Everyone, just lower your hands, please. So this motion passed. Now we are going to vote on the other motion, which was the actual original motion, which is the third readings of the proposed WUSA bylaws. You know what? I'm just going to type in the chat and people can react so much better. Anyone has anything they would like to say on the original motion?
Ken, I'd like to pose a question about changing Article 5.01 to change the second sentence of that article to say thereafter, we don't have to pick language, but just to advise the lawyers that we want it to be a special resolution of the members to change the size of the board from 13, instead of having the board be able to do it by simple majority.
Okay, Ben. Catherine, point of inquiry, go ahead.
Just to clarify, what we were voting on previously was an amendment, like an addition to this motion 4.1, right?
Yes. So
okay. Could we have it added to the screen, just so that it's clear? It's just parts 1 and 2.
and 4.
Oh, and 4, right. Thank you.
Can we get rid of the third one, Connor? Does that fail? Yes. Okay, so now we're voting on this motion as the whole. And Councillor Macri, you have a direct response to President Easton.
Yeah, I don't think it's necessary for council to indicate any preference on the matter of issue 5.01, like how board will change size. The reason that, and what I said for the reason to ask for a procedure on changing board size isn't because I don't think board should be able to change it, but changing board size could, especially now that board members are paid, could be difficult. It could be very unnecessary. It could be a very kind of politically difficult kind of conflict of interesty thing for board to handle. And I just think there should be a procedure in place saying, like, you know, for example, maybe it could talk about, you know, what kind of reasons for board to change size. You know, maybe the procedure is just, you know, every couple of years we analyze the workload of board members and decide if it needs any adjustments or something like that. And it's more of just I would expect it to just be a procedure that board is expected to follow and still allow board to change the size of board, or maybe it could be up to the members. I don't really see any reason to decide either way. It's just more of, I want this to be something that, you know, we look at, because if we don't look at it before the new body is established, it could be very difficult for the new board to change the size of themselves, considering that they're now paid. And it could be, maybe the students will see it as bad optics to expand the size of the board, even if it's the interest of the organization. But if we have a procedure in place for why we're doing it, it would kind of alleviate that issue. Or if, you know, the workload is being split up and that would result in, you know, reducing the board honorarium, maybe some board members would kind of have a conflict of interest if they're considering running again, because now they you know, voting to reduce their own pay. It's just kind of about solving something that could be kind of like a political hot potato, rather than wanting to bind how the size of board changes. So I don't think it's really necessary to do a vote on this.
I think President Easton has a straw poll, so it's not binding. It's just to get the general feeling of the room about what they prefer.
Because straw polls are never in order.
I'm going to allow it. You can go against my ruling as a chair and call into question, go ahead. But I'm going to allow it because it's a helpful tool. And secondly, it's helpful for the executives to know what council wants when they're writing this procedure, because it might be two different procedures. The board is changing their own membership versus if it's the general meeting that can change the membership of board. There's nothing wrong with asking for the straw poll. It's not binding on anyone, but it helps us know the general feeling of this room. To do that, I'm gonna ask people to okay.
Ken, and I might suggest that basically, like, I'll put like 2 messages in the chat, one to say special resolution of members, or I'll say 2/3 of members versus 50% of board. And the question is, like, which do you want to change the size of board? And then you can just react to the whatever. So 2/3 of membership, or of members, and 50% of board.
And could we just make it 2/3 of the board also?
The language presently in the bylaws is a resolution, an ordinary resolution.
Yeah, but we can change that, right? So, like, just if that helps people more. Okay, we have two options in the chat. Please thumbs up to the option you prefer, I guess, Ben. I will wait till 12:46 for this vote.
Which emojis abstain?
There's no abstaining emoji. It's just which one you prefer. Okay. Um, okay. Oh, there are more votes on this than there were on other motions, which is nice. There is. Okay, the voting has officially closed and it's a 50-50 split. I guess. Sorry, go ahead, Ben.
Maybe I will bring this issue to the governance committee and have them issue an opinion, because we will need specific language for council to vote on in 2 weeks.
Yes.
So it seems like council is indifferent.
Perfect. Okay, now we are voting on this motion as a whole. Connor, can you go up so we know what we're voting on? Just a bit up. Yes, right here. Anyone against this motion, raise your hand. Anyone abstaining? The motion passes with 3 people in abstention. Okay, I guess we have finished everything on the agenda. Is there any new business? Councillor Macri, go ahead.
I think to help better deal with the issue of councilors not properly engaging during meetings, I move for us to resume having in-person council meetings, and note that pre-pandemic, we always allowed people to attend virtually if they're on co-op or otherwise unable to physically attend. So I don't think that should be a concern for people.
Is there a seconder for this motion? And after that, we will think if 2/3 of the people are okay with that or not. Connor seconds. Okay. How many people are in favor of considering this item right now as new business? Please raise your hand. I'll give 3 more seconds for people to raise hands. Only 6 people of, let's say, even if it's like 18 people raise their hand, the motion did not meet the 2/3 requirement for consideration as a new business, and the motion fails as new business. Anyone else has any other new business they would like? Going once, going twice. Okay, we'll move on to announcements. Anyone has any announcements they would like to make? Go ahead, VP Dong.
I said it in my report and I'm going to announce it again, which is Volunteer Appreciation is on Tuesday. I encourage you to, if you just like search it up or go on Instagram or council mailing list, also receive an email about it. I highly encourage you to attend or to register to receive a virtual goodie.
VP Dong. Go ahead, Mike.
I checked the Leadership Awards online submission form, and it is still open. So instead of just mailing it to Catherine, feel free to fill out the form as proper before tomorrow morning. We may also extend it because the form itself says the 26th, which is just great. I'm happy when dates don't line up on important forms.
I was told that the form closed last night, and we are bringing a nomination package to IAC tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
So
I think I can still see the form. I will check. But if you want to extend it to just midnight, and then I will make sure all the packages are sent, then we can do that. Sorry.
all good. I'm just thinking whether I'd rather things go through the form or be emailed to me so we can keep track of them more. I guess the form is better because then they all go to the same place instead of me.
Any other announcements? Okay. No more announcements. Seeing no more business. I adjourn this meeting at 12:51 p.m., which is under our time limit. So that's good. Have
Thanks,
a
everyone.
great rest of the Sunday, folks, and live life.
It's Black Friday.
No, it's not.
Get off your couches, go to the mall, and buy a flower pot. Happy Black Friday.
Bye, folks.
Yeah.
Bye. Bye, Cannon.
Bye,
Have
Abby.
a happy Sunday.
I will.
Bye, everybody. Happy Black Friday in March.
Happy
Hi,
Friday.
Mike. Bye, Mike.